Hello and welcome to The Free Cheese, episode 167. I'm your Joe Dix, joined this afternoon by Marc Augustiniak
Well, hello there.
and Matt Solner.
Hello.
The Free Cheese is a weekly video game podcast about video games brought to you once a week by thefreecheese.com.
Not true.
I am not sick, but I sound like shit. Go Power Rangers. How are you both doing today?
I'm doing great.
Yes?
Fantastic.
Me too, thanks. Guess what?
I don't care.
Okay. Moving on. It's almost 3 years of the Free Cheese. Getting close. I think like late end of this month will be
It's longer.
3 years of the Free Cheese, but 4 years of the podcast. I believe.
Still, I still think it's longer than what it is.
I know. Well, it'll be 5 years next year.
Oh.
So, yeah, we'll do more of like anniversary style stuff when we get to the actual date. But I was thinking about it today.
When's
As
the
I-
actual date?
I don't remember. 20th? I think the 20th was the first episode.
I thought you were going to say Halloween. I'm like, you would.
I want to say the 30th is when we actually launched the Free Cheese, or it might have been the 23rd or something. I can go back in time. I can find out. Give me a sec.
See you scrubbing.
Mm-hmm. Scrub.
Don't want no scrubs.
But I do. October 22nd, 2012 was the first released episode, but we recorded that on, I think, the 19th or the 20th. It was a couple days prior to that. Because we had to hold it because we didn't know what we were going to call the podcast at the time. So we were like, well, we'll figure out a name. And then we thought of the name when we recorded episode 2 and then posted them both back to back.
That's cool.
Yes. 22nd. So what's that? It's like a week away.
I like that.
Roughly. Yeah. Yeah. In other news that happens regularly, or if we're celebrating some sort of thing that we check in with quite regularly, it's time for our weekly NX update.
Oh, by we, you mean you.
Yes. And here I have a picture of the word nothing. Because that is exactly what
That
we
is the
have.
word of today, kids.
Yes.
Magic word is nothing.
Fuck. I don't know what else. I just don't. It'll happen tomorrow, I guess. I don't know.
I don't know why. Like, I just pictured, like, you having, like, a knock of, like, Pee-wee's Playhouse. And, like, every episode, you're... Like, but this is a segment just for NX. And every time it's nothing, and you just get disappointed in the end, and you just get sad and destructive, and walk off set every
Basically,
day.
Yeah. We should film it, but we can't film it because I know that any day now it's going to actually be a real thing.
You think?
It will be, and I'm confident in this.
I mean, it definitely will be before Christmas. That's what I feel.
It's going to be within a week. I'm telling you, by the time we record next time, this is the one.
You said that.
No,
Pretty sure
never
I
said
actually
something.
think it is smart to avoid like the whole VR hype train right now that PlayStation is on, just so it doesn't get buried. I don't think it would get buried, but
If you have the money for it.
let's not crowd the marketplace too much. I think
Yeah.
it's kind of smart that they might avoid that if you think of it that way, but definitely think we should have heard something by now.
Yeah, like...
They've always done things their own way. They've never really done things to compete. They've always just kind of went off. They like instead of like like Xbox and PlayStation kind of being in the same area doing the same things.
Right.
They see that and they go, you know what? I'm just gonna find my space over here, do my thing.
Yeah.
While they're doing that, and just let it go their own separate ways.
Yeah, but they do compete for
I mean, yeah,
like,
there's
just
always
the
that competition,
collective
but they don't do like
attention.
they don't do the same.
Yeah, no. They're in their own world, but they definitely need to like.
Yes.
Matt's face just clearly defines that. But they are going to compete for whatever.
Yeah.
Just the conversation of the day. You want to capitalize that. Like I think I saw, or I read, or heard. I don't know. Somebody asked a question on a different podcast. A listener like, "Hey, do you think they're going to do it at what do you call it? At what's that thing that Jeff Keighley does every year? The Game Awards. Like, you think that'll be the announcement? It's like, no, probably not, because...
I hope not, because that's a bad show.
I think they'll have something to show there, as they have before. It's not a bad show.
Are they actually doing a show this year? Are they doing it like last year, where it was just...
Well, actually, last year might have been more decent, but the ones before that...
Well, when it was on Spike, it was always kind of like,
Yeah. Oh, it's not on Spike anymore.
No, he left Spike.
Oh, that's right.
Because he left Game
last year it
Trailers.
wasn't on Spike, right?
Right. Yeah.
It was like online, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
It's been online for the last
See,
few years.
that's not as bad. But before that, when it was on Spike,
Yeah.
oh, that was.
Well, that was back in the Doritos Pope days.
Yeah.
Yeah. Kids, if you don't know what
I
that
kind of
is,
like it on Spike.
it had its charm on Spike,
It
but
just didn't feel like it. The focus wasn't on games. It felt like
it was always on. It was like
it was
any
like
other
music and celebrities. And it's like
It was always these
These guys play video games.
every other award show, like any movie or Grammys or whatever the fuck people.
Maybe I just think of that award show and I immediately think of me being in my dorm bed and seeing The Last of Us and Naughty Dog pop up as the developer and just
Yes,
rush of adrenaline.
it
all that good
definitely
stuff.
it had that, but I think that the other parts of it were the bad parts.
Yeah,
I
like
don't
the
remember
guy-
anything else but that trailer.
Yeah, see, I remember all the fucking
Yeah.
Samuel L.
Everything-
Jackson walking out on stage like, I play video games. I was like, okay, good. Now the award for the whatever, and then something comes out and it's not.
Like all these skits with him in it.
Yeah, it was always really bad. I remember the last one they did, like I think it was the Doritos Pope year, was the one where they had like the.
I remember him being like in The Walking Dead.
Yeah, oh god, yeah, it was bad. They tried, but yeah, it just wasn't.
You know who doesn't have to try? Sam Jackson.
Yeah.
Throw a couple F-bombs out there and you got a AAA budget movie right there.
Done. But yeah, I don't think Nintendo would do that. They'll have something there. They'll bring it out on stage.
Then again,
and
you
show it
never
off.
know with them.
But they can't. They're not going to do that too.
I mean, like nobody expected them to be at that Apple or
True
thing, right?
But they're not going to debut their console at somebody else's thing.
What if they did?
Then
Like, what would your reaction be?
I'd say that
Where could you do that though?
they wouldn't. They won't. They can't.
But just a what if?
It'd be bizarre, but once again, we're talking about Nintendo here.
It's like saying, "What if my voice didn't sound like this today?" But it doesn't, and it isn't, and it never would today.
But I know what it would sound like.
But but it doesn't, so it isn't. Just like they won't, because they can't.
Mm.
So yeah, it is very much a joke at this point. Like I don't know what else.
I don't know.
I don't know. I
It's
check
just-
in on the subreddit every now and then,
I mean,
and the
it's just-
NeoGAF, and it's just
all I know-
everything's devolving into.
I mean, I guarantee you, it's going to be a direct. It's going to be a whole thing dedicated to it, and there you go.
Either that or the investors meeting, but they can't announce that at the investors meeting.
If they do anything at the investors meeting, it'll just be like it won't be anything grand. You know, like they might mention it, but not enough to like
I think that they have to get the message out there before the investors meeting.
that. Like, hey, we will announce something.
No, I think they need to get it to us before the investors meeting. That way, at the investors meeting, they can say, with our recently detailed Nintendo blank, this is what the next fiscal year looks like for us, et cetera, et cetera. And then during the Q&A section, that's where you get all the cool shit from all the people. Or the terrible shit in some cases. Like it's always funny if you ever read, because I know everybody reads this stuff, but the questions that are asked by shareholders, because you can tell which ones are the business people and which ones are the video game fans. And it's just like, I don't know, like, oh, in the coming fiscal year, your entry into the mobile market, blah, 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 money. And then it's just like, where's new Zelda? Do you want to have a Zelda in this new thing that I can play? And it's just
Zelda?
two completely different.
Just a bunch of seagulls just shouting Zelda.
Oh, it's absurd.
Do they have a Q1, Q2 date at all, or
For
NX? Or did they just say 2017?
they said March
Yeah,
2017 is when it will launch.
So it's very possible we might not hear anything, and then you're going to hear Q1 or Q2, whatever that fiscal. Because some people do Q1 in
That
December.
one's Q4.
Whatever
For
that
them-
quarter is, they
for-
can say Project NX. You know, we expect some kind of spike in sales and with software due to Project NX being released in Q whatever.
Well,
that
that's
would be.
because that's the thing is that I think they have to launch in March because it is the very last point in this fiscal year. In this fiscal year, think about kind of what happened. Like 3DS sales jumped a bit because of that new 3DS bundle that came out. But there really haven't been many 3DS games that are like driving things home. You have Pokemon, which is definitely going to drive some units. But Wii U, Color Splash was last week, and until Zelda launches in March, we don't really have anything on Wii U. And I don't think Color Splash was driving console sales. So
No.
their fiscal year for this this time around, I mean, despite Pokemon Go and everything else, it's definitely not like I think that March launch date they're hitching themselves on that, and it'll be interesting to see how it plays out. But then that brings you into a strong quarter Q1 for next fiscal year. I don't know.
If everything does come out in March,
It will.
like NX, Zelda, that would be a Mark year.
The year
Because
A Mark,
Mark?
M-A-R-K or M-A-R-C?
C. Like
Oh.
instead of Mark game, it'll be a Mark year.
Oh.
trademark.
Yeah.
Yes. Trademark.
I mean, it's not video games, but also I think in that month is the Iron Fist series releases.
And Power Rangers. It's a real market.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. We'll see. We'll know something by next episode. They'll say something.
You want to bet money?
I want to keep tallying.
$5.
How many times you've said that?
$5?
This is the first time I've said it. $5.
Did you have an idea what the next episode is, or are you
First
just gonna
time
hold
you
off
said
until?
$5. Next episode will be. Actually, I don't know when the hell we're recording next, but whenever we record next.
If it stays on a regular, if you don't hold off
Right.
until NX News,
I mean,
I'll put $5 on that.
we'll do another episode roughly within a week at some point.
Roughly within a week. Okay, so yeah, if you stay within your normal time zone, $5,
Yeah,
you're
yeah.
not gonna hear anything.
All right, you're on. $5. That's it. By episode 168, we will know something.
Hoping me my own words, but I'm feeling pretty confident at this $5.
It's gonna be a pumpkin spice latte for me. We talked before about how the free cheese is turning 3. For those that are just joining us, because now, and by now, I mean now, this is a terrible episode for
Drop
people to
them
join
balls,
us. I know. I would say go back and listen to a few. That way you kind of know what it should sound like. But we're now on Google Play Music. So if you want Google Play Music is their
Just their audio source.
that's like their iTunes.
Okay.
Yeah. So if you're coming to us from there, welcome. You have 100.
Sorry, people who use Bing Play.
Is that a thing?
I hope not.
No, call it Zune Play.
Oh.
Yeah.
No one remembers those. No one should. The Free Cheese is a weekly video game podcast. And every week we kind of have some recurring segments. One of which is called Now Playing, where we talk about what we've been playing in the last week. So,
What have you been playing?
oh, me. I've been playing Final Fantasy VI.
That's surprising.
Why?
I just didn't expect that. I mean, not because nothing against you or Final Fantasy. I just didn't expect you to play Final Fantasy VI. It's just a specific because you were playing Dragon Quest VII.
Still playing it.
Okay, and I don't know. It's just left field. I like it. It's good.
Yeah, so World of Final Fantasy is on its way out. Oh, your face is just dead. You know which one I'm talking about, yes?
I'm not. I get it confused, so I'm not entirely sure. Is this the one where the kids have disgusting big heads on tiny bodies?
Stack. This was the one that was shown right before. This was the one that was shown right before 7, right? At E3.
The boy and girl. Ugh, they look gross when they're trying to look. Okay, the chibi form is cute.
Yes.
But when they're not that, it looks all like Kingdom Heartish.
Oh, yeah.
It's gross looking.
Yeah, so it's that one. It's the one that's all chibi and weird and apparently not a
I don't understand what it is.
Mark game.
No.
I don't know, but so World of Final Fantasy is intended to be like a return to the more traditional old school, like pre-7 Final Fantasies. Kind of like how Bravely Default was, but Bravely Default I never got past the demo with any sort of real.
It's
It's
a required taste.
Required?
It's a required taste.
Acquired?
Is it acquired?
Acquired.
Right, that makes more sense. Because required's like, hey, you gotta have this specific taste if you want to play it. Which, in a way, still kind of works.
It does work. You're right.
but you don't need it. Acquired is just
Yes.
optional.
So, I was kind of like, oh, I want to go play an old one. And then I was like, do I want to play 1? And like 1, I love 1.
I remember you beat that.
I fucking love 1. The music is just so like punchy. You know what I mean? It's just got a really good just meat
Which
behind
version of that did you play?
it. The PS1 version.
PS1,
Which is why I
okay.
really like the music in that.
Yeah,
Like,
yeah.
Not that the NES one was bad, but like the NES one's so stripped down and the PS1 remake
I had
was-
the cartridge for the NES one.
But yeah, I was like, I don't want to play 1 again. I don't really feel like playing 2.
Nobody wants to play 2.
I kind of want to play it eventually one day.
Have fun.
4, everybody likes 4. I don't love the setting in 4. It's
To me, that's why I like 4. I feel like it's one of the more truer, like when I think of fantasy,
Yeah,
4
and
is what
that's-
comes to mind. But it does lack what I would say 6 has.
right. Yeah, and 4 I
But
like.
4 is a good start.
4 is good, and that, I think that was the first one that I, outside of 1, that I like really dove into and completed. And 4 is great, and I like it, but I've already played that, and I haven't finished 6. We did it for a game club last year, I think, and I never got too far. Like that month got away from me for whatever reason.
Yeah, I never completed 6.
But Sandeep loves 6, and every time we talk about Final Fantasy, we bring up 6, and he's obsessed with Kefka, and he's always telling me like, you need
it's
to
weird.
play this.
Because like I know like what I just said about 4, like that's what like fantasy feels like to me, but that's just in general.
Right.
Final Fantasy is to me is 6 and 7.
Yeah,
Like,
and that's yeah.
It's like because it has like that mix of like it's like they took the old medieval fantasy type style and they kept it, but it evolved.
Applied it to a new. Yeah.
So it's like having the airship and like the more like steampunky technology type stuff, along with having magic and swords and creatures. Like that's cool. I like that.
So far, I'm probably about an hour and a half in. I remember I wandered around in the little mech suit as Terra with those weird.
I love
dudes.
that beginning.
The beginning's
Like
so
seriously,
good.
like when it snows for real and
Yeah.
I'm walking, that's what plays in my head. That beginning, like
Yep.
whatever. Like,
it's really, really good. It's really like a powerful opening. I ran through some caves, and then I went to some castle, and then it hid itself in the sand.
You had the Teenage Mutant Ninja Moogles fight with you.
It's so good. Yeah, so I'm not too far in, but
I love the whole joke with Locke, where they keep calling him a thief, but he's like, I'm a treasure hunter.
it's it's good. I like it. It's I forgot about the active time battle.
Oh yeah.
You know what I mean? Where you're like waiting for your meter to build before you can attack.
But they can still hit you during it.
Yeah, it's that whole thing was introduced in FF4.
I think it's optional to have it on.
I think you're right. I think you can switch it. I remember reading something. I don't know, but it's good. My biggest problem with it is not with the game itself, but where I should play it, because I started a fresh save on my Vita,
Right.
and then I got through the Teenage Mutant Ninja Moogle section.
That's my favorite part.
And I went to go pick it back up, and my Vita was dead. And I was like, well, wait, this is right where I left off on PSP, so I should just grab my PSP. And then I was playing it. So I'm kind of, and I don't know which one to play it on. Like the Vita,
Is there a big difference?
no, because the Vita uses the PSP emulation. It's just a matter of like holding it, and plus the Vita has that beautiful OLED screen.
Just
So it
Some
looks-
Vitas.
Mine, day one.
Nah,
But-
late to the party.
It
well, it sounds like you prefer the Vita.
That's the funny thing is like the PSP Go for me was my big push for like JRPGs a few years back when I got it, and now I'm like almost ready to leave it, but I'm not. But I don't know.
So you're trying to like stick to traditions?
I don't know. Like it just that PSP to me like is synonymous with JRPGs. And there's a whole like there are tons and tons outside of the mainstream ones that I haven't even touched, but
Right.
baby steps.
I just feel like the Vita would push out better visuals.
It's really marginally different. Like it's
No.
yeah.
Oh,
not-
well then, I don't know. I guess.
But you do have the bigger display.
Yeah.
But I am playing it in in the original resolution.
Aspect, yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
Shrunk it down. So it still looks the same
Right.
on both, really. But yeah.
I guess it's a personal preference.
Yeah, Final Fantasy VI is good stuff.
Do
And
you
then
have a favorite character so far?
I haven't even met anybody yet. Like I think in my party right now I have Terra, Edgar, and
Locke.
is it Locke? I thought it was somebody else.
You would have to have Locke.
Sure.
The all blue.
Sure.
He's the one that first saves Terra. And the Moogles help
Got like
you
a
out.
headband.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's Locke.
Yeah.
Edgar's cool. I like his brother.
He's the king, right?
King
came from the castle.
King or prince? Yeah.
Sure. But FF6 and then Dragon Quest 7. 7 I talked about before, but not in like great detail. So, kind of to give 7, it's because all I said before was like, it's a JRPG ass JRPG. Like it is.
You have to collect
the fragments. And, and then kind of the more I dove into it, and the further I got, I realized that really what Dragon Quest 7 is, you are going around, you're collecting these little fragments of a map, so to speak. You take them back to the central hub. It's just outside of the main town. You put the fragments together to create a full map. And once you do that, you're warped to that island. And then each island is basically like a little episode that you're playing through.
Okay.
So this is a 100-hour JRPG, but every hour of it is spent not in hours loose. Like some might be more or less.
You don't have to backtrack.
No, not necessarily.
Because everything you need is like in that island.
And really, as you play through that island, you're getting the fragments for the next piece, and everything about it is kind of pushing you to make sure you get each of them. Like you shouldn't really miss, at least in my experience.
Right.
There's none that I'm missing or anything like that. And you're just kind of going along, leveling up, building your team up, learning new magic skills, etc., etc.
You still not trust the blonde?
Nice. I'm kind of okay with him.
Okay.
Little Prince Kiefer. He's all right. But you're kind of like building on it. You're leaving your island to go to these other islands, and they're seemingly in like a different time and place. But after you complete that little episode, and you come back to your timeline, that island like appears. So like this world thought that they were alone. And it's just like, if you look at the map, it's this island and then water.
Yeah.
And then you go to this other place in this different realm, so to speak. You help complete that first episode, and then you're warped back to yours. And then suddenly everybody in your world's like, oh my God, look, there's a new land. And that island's just over the horizon. I think you're going to keep building up the map and pulling these things back into the timeline. I don't really quite know the thing, but you're...
The main character reminds me of, like, if Toriyama designed Link.
Oh, yeah, that'd be... Yeah.
I think that's what he would look like.
Yeah, he does look... He's very Linkish. It's good. So that's the thing. I have some other stuff I've been playing. I'll get to it later, but these two in particular, I was, like, kind of, like... what's the word? Prudent when starting Final Fantasy VI, because I'm like, I'm already in the middle of this and this. We have Castlevania month going on. Like, it's too much. And then I thought about it, and it's like, well, hold on. Like, because I can watch 16 different shows at once because they're airing episodically each week, and I'm able to follow it. So why can't I apply the same thing into games where I'm like, I'm just playing an episode of this, and then I'm going to take a break, I'm going to play an episode of this. And really, I'm forced to because all of these I'm playing on handhelds, and they're dying. So as soon as they die, I swap it out for one that's charged.
You just don't play with the AC plugged in the whole time?
No, only because on the couch, that's the one thing I hate about this house.
It's not long enough.
Yeah.
Extension cord.
But then it just becomes a hole.
I
already have too many wires.
That's all it is, just an extension cord.
But I have too many wires as it is. I don't know. When I get the basement in order, I think it'll be easier to do so.
Yeah.
We'll see. That's my little journey down JRPG heaven. It's been nice.
It's, coming from your background to where you are now, I'd say you made quite a change.
It's a weird one, huh?
It's good. You come a little more open-minded.
I know. You know what I think is next?
What's next?
What are we pointing at? Oh, that's another 100-hour JRPG.
I think it's going to be my November game. Courtesy of Chris Taylor, who I forgot he gave me this until I found it. Chris, if you're listening, I still have your Persona 4 Golden after what's probably been 2 years. I remember I started it because Chris was adamant that I did. And then I was like, this is weird. It's very Japanese. I don't understand it.
Yeah.
But I think I'm in a better frame of mind. I'm more open-minded to it now than I may have been before.
My concern is you're going to burn yourself out before you even get to that. 2 JRPGs
But
at the same
again,
time.
I think that new approach of like, looking at it episodically and like just piece by piece by piece, not burning myself out in like a literal, like going, if I just played nothing but Dragon Quest VII and then went right into Final Fantasy VI and then into this, like, yeah. But because I'm slicing them up, I think it might be easier to balance.
I could be wrong here, but I think where this is all rooting from is for your appreciation of Nintendo.
Go on. I'm listening. I was going to ask you guys what you're playing, but now I don't care because this is about me. Come on.
Well, I've only played one game, but I guess you started with this whole getting a little more serious with the collecting and like appreciating things and like preserving. I guess we'll get deeper into that later.
Yeah.
But I remember like first you were talking about the Console Wars book.
Sure.
Your appreciation with like Famicom in general and like that part of Nintendo. So like the more like Japanese side of it. Mm-hmm. The Game Boy you have.
Not yet,
but soon to be here.
Son of a bitch! Every day I look, it left Tokyo 8 days ago, but it's still.
But you loved how everything looked about it. Even when you went deeper with the whole Earthbound thing, you went and see like a toy side of things. You getting to that more of like the Japanese cultural side of it, I think it's made you appreciate a little more of that between like with the animes and the JRPGs and all that. So I think it's all in one source and it's just kind of branching out from that. So you're not that far from it, but it's cool that it's spreading.
It might be the fact that I listen to Baby Metal on my bike rides to work.
You're just slowly becoming a weeb. Like,
I think so. And I think I'm okay with it. Think I'm okay with it.
There's fine. Just don't take it too far.
Like, what's too far?
I come here next episode and you're wearing...
No, I'm not going to have a Naruto headband.
No. What I was going to say is one of those like anime girl masks.
What is this? Tell me of this. Because maybe I need to...
You piqued my interest.
Yeah, Amazon?
It's just a mask of an anime girl.
Oh, like that. No, I'm not going to dress up.
And then you're wearing like a little like Sailor Scout outfit.
Oh, from Sailor Moon?
Yeah.
I mean, I might be. Who knows? I mean, can't promise that
outside of Halloween, if that's what I find, we're gonna have to talk.
But hey, it's progress in some direction. I don't know which direction it is.
To the trash can.
No, I you're right because I live it, right? So it's the same thing. Like, I'm about to hit 2 years with my current job where I'm working, and I thought about it, and like, yeah, I know. And I thought about it, and I'm not. Before that, I wasn't. My old job, I couldn't like grow out my beard, and
really,
yeah, I couldn't. Whatever. They needed to trim and nice and neat, whatever. But as soon as I got hired here, I was like, fuck everything. And I was thinking about it, and I don't feel like it's much longer than it ever. Like I'm always like, yeah, it was always this length. Like, this is exactly where my beard was. And then I looked at a picture from 2 years ago, and I was like, holy shit, I had nothing on my face. And I looked at one from 1 year ago even, and it's way longer than it was then.
But, I can't tell just because I'm just so used to it.
And that's the thing, like, I notice it, or I don't notice it because it's gradual, but when you look at those, if you can pinpoint these, like, boom, boom.
Yeah, same thing with my hair. I keep thinking it was always around this length. I was like, wait, I remember a time when it was, like, a little bit shorter. It was a big difference.
Yeah. And I think, similarly, like, I'm not noticing it because I'm slowly, like, slipping into these things where I'm paying closer attention to the Japanese side of things, and I'm, like, starting to look at the Japanese language and figure out an easy way to learn it. And
you're just going to the source.
Yeah. Because it's like, I still can't play Mother 3 in America legally, in English rather. Right. And I really want to experience. I mean, I have experienced.
And even better, you called Final Fantasy by its original number. You gave it 6.
Well, technically, I'm playing it on PlayStation 1, where it was Final Fantasy 6.
Right, but you're not calling it 3.
But it was 3 to some people.
It was 3, but only here.
Right. Until it came out on PS1. Anyway, Matt's just out.
I'm
fuck
shaking
this,
my
I'm
head.
done.
Final Fantasy numbering system. Oh man.
I think it was only 4 and 6 that had that problem. Everything else was fine.
Right, because we're too we're not as smart as and skilled at video games as
Sorcerer's Stone.
Yeah. But yeah, it's definitely, I've become more entrenched in that culture. I think.
But I like that. It's cool.
Yeah. I don't know what it was that like really clicked it. Something. It's probably the Nintendo connection or video. I mean, I think video games in general.
I think you started to look beyond the aesthetics.
Yeah, and get deeper to the roots of it all.
Yeah,
There's something
to distract yourself from NX news or lack thereof.
That's probably it. You're not too far off. You said you played one thing. What'd you play?
I've been playing with a Plague of Shadows.
Yes. Do you want to review it?
Do I want to review it?
Yeah, because I never reviewed it, and I don't know how I can. I can, but I don't. Anyway, that's separate. We'll talk about that later.
Yeah. I mean, I'm not that far.
Well, when you finish it, one of us should review it. Let's do that.
It can be a joint thing.
Oh yeah. But tell me of this. This is your first time playing it, right?
Like actually getting into it, yeah.
Yeah. So this is for folks who don't know, it's Shovel Knight: Plague of Shadows. It's the expansion that they put out as free DLC for Shovel Knight last year.
And you play as Plague Knight. Yeah, okay, so the first level I found to be very tough. I mean, I guess just because like you're getting used to it and you're very limited with your abilities, but it's like I was very scared of falling.
Yeah,
the entire time.
If I being quite honest, playing through that first level, I didn't get to the end of it, and then I didn't go back to Plague of Shadows for a couple of months. I was immediately turned off.
Like I died like 3 times.
I died a lot, and I was immediately turned off. I was like, this is not my Shovel Knight. Like,
and then,
I love these guys, but this is not.
And I finally got past that part.
Yeah.
And then like going to the whole town was cool. I love how he has his own way. You're sneaking underground to your own little base, and you see Shovel Knight above you. So it's like you're always just like a couple steps ahead of him.
Yeah.
In everything, and I love that.
The way they tied this in with the main Shovel Knight story, like sneaking around, it was very good.
And then I beat King Knight's stage last night.
Yeah,
and that was cool. The little conversation they had, and I love how he finds Shovel Knight's relics, and then he's like, oh, "This is useless. It's worthless."
Yeah. So I think.
And then he gives that to the guy that would normally give it to Shovel Knight.
Yeah.
And then getting, like, those little doorways that Shovel Knight can only fit into with his silhouette. You just stand there. He finds a way to shape himself with, like, bringing an arm up to fit the horn.
Exactly.
And,
it's so good.
Those little details of animation.
Yeah.
I appreciate it.
And a lot of that I never said before because I didn't want to, like, spoil the specifics for you. But, yeah, the way that because in the core Shovel Knight, you're playing through each stage and you find a sub-weapon. Or you can buy a sub-weapon from this little guy Chester who pops out of a treasure chest. And playing through as Plague Knight, you're finding them
separately
somewhere else in a different part of the level you've never played before as Shovel Knight. And then you find Chester, and
Chester will trade it for an item that you actually use.
Right, you as Plague Knight.
Yeah.
So then it plays back into the Shovel Knight story where it's cool. It's so cool how they intertwined everything.
Yeah, like it's all canon.
Yeah, it's so good,
and
it makes me wonder what they're going to do with Spectre
and King
Knight. Yeah.
Because I love the little conversation at the end, and then when after he beat him, he's like, yeah, like, I want to take that crown, too.
Yeah.
And then he's like, yeah, it turns out his crown is actually not real gold.
So what, is it going to be something with his treasure? I don't know I don't know.
So with Plague Knight, you're getting all the essences.
Yeah, because you're trying to build the greatest potion there ever was.
Yeah, and I feel like there's going to be more to it. I feel like there's something that might be a little touching with Plague Knight and the girl Mona.
I don't know.
Like I just feel like there's a little more. There has to be something there. I
don't know anything.
Well, that means you do. But
I mean, I beat the fucking thing, so of course I know something. But I'm not going to spoil anything.
Right.
You're not far off.
But that I'm looking forward to.
Yeah, and that was one of the more surprising parts of Plague of Shadows, where I was expecting just another.
Because with Shovel Knight, those are my favorite parts. Is the relationship aspect of it.
And that was so funny because when we rightfully so gave Shovel Knight Game of the Year, and we talked about it on the podcast a few years ago, I loved it for so many reasons. And like bottom of the list was the story and the love side. I mean, I liked that part, but it was never like. But that for you, when we had that conversation, was like top of the list. Like no, Shovel Knight and Shield Knight working together in the way that they
like the end of that, like I teared up.
Yeah. I remember, and then like subsequent playthroughs when I went back and replayed that section, like thinking about how you approached it, and I kind of kept that at the forefront.
Yeah. It also happened at a very specific time in my life where it get correlated.
And I think too, I don't know, there's something goofy happening inside of me always, right? But like the older I get and the further I get, like Katie and I, it'll be almost 5 years. It is almost 5 years now that we've been together, and it's like there's different levels of relationships and things, and I think like, I don't know, you learn more about yourself through one another over time, and then you learn this deeper appreciation for one another, and going back to things that you love, like Shovel Knight, after you've been through something else together or in your own life, you kind of see that in a new way, and it's like, yeah.
And also, to take a little further with that, playing Plague of Shadows, it's kind of like, just playing through Shovel Knight alone gives you a deeper insight into the game, obviously, like any other game that you would probably play.
Right.
But if you go to like a second playthrough, like a New Game Plus or something, and you start to notice these other little details you probably didn't notice the first playthrough,
right.
or these little secrets you found.
Yeah.
Like in the King Knight stage, go all the way to the left. It doesn't look like it's a wall that can't get destroyed, but it can. And you see the Yacht Club Games symbol, and you get all this treasure. Like, that's cool. But for Plague of Shadows, like it takes what Shovel Knight you already knew about Shovel Knight, and it opens it up a little more.
Yeah.
So that's another way that you get to learn and understand, appreciate the game that much more. So you get to appreciate Shovel Knight itself more because of Plague of Shadows.
Right.
And it's a game that you can play by itself. You don't even need to play Shovel Knight.
That's true. Yeah.
Like, that's why I love it. It can just be a separate game.
Yeah, and it was great. I still have to wrap it up on Vita because I remember a few weeks ago I started.
Well, there's my review. So,
but you're right. Like the controls were definitely different because it's more complicated than.
But I already
Knight.
like it because when we played co-op, I basically had Plague Knight's abilities.
Right. But I think by the end of it, like I almost like Plague of Shadows better than Shovel Knight in some ways.
Yeah, I mean, it definitely fits with the theme this month.
You're nodding your head like this, where you're I can't agree with that, but
I can see it.
When you get to the end of it, like there's a lot more in this game. There's so much in this game.
I mean, because like I can't really like agree or disagree.
Yeah. But I think you'll see. I think you'll be surprised. It's good. Plague of Shadows is.
Yeah, I wanted to play Aria more, but I didn't have the chance to set up my Wii U over. At the house I'm watching. Make sure it doesn't move.
Aria. I played a little bit of Aria, not a lot, but yeah. Game Club pick of the month. We announced it last week on the podcast, and then I put the article up Monday, just highlighting, hey, we're playing this game. Yeah. Play along with us if you want. But speaking of Castlevania, last week I talked to both of you about one of the best games of all time. And then Matt, did you play anything this week?
Something did consume my life on the Vita.
Oh, what was that?
It's a little game called Castlevania Symphony of the Night.
Oh, yeah.
Snap.
So, tell us.
Yeah, so after we recorded, I did, because I was saying, I was like, I want to play it. I've always wanted to play it. And I was like, screw it. Next morning, I downloaded it on my Vita. Patiently waited the 15 minutes. And then I started playing it. And I never played, I said this last week.
Yeah.
Never played a Castlevania game, so.
What a way to get introduced.
Yeah, so I'm like, I'm playing and
just with the beginning alone.
Yeah, I just started playing and like I think I want to write about like my experience, especially in that first hour, because like I'm collecting hearts, but when I get hit, my hearts aren't going down. I'm like, what is going on?
You think it'd be health?
Right. Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So yeah, I'm just playing it, and man, you do the whole thing with Richter in the beginning, and then you go and it's Alucard, and then your powers are stripped.
Right.
I did not even attempt to do your little
yeah, I mean, it's a whole... I've never tried that either. That was weird.
Yeah. But I started playing it, and you're the one who kind of told me that, when I say you, I'm looking at Marc, that you fill in the map pixel by pixel as you go across. Yeah. And you said, as someone who likes to clean a map...
It kind of gives you OCD.
Yeah, and I started clearing the map, and I just kept going through, and then I got to the first save point. I'm like, yes!
Obsessive clearing disorder.
I'm not going to lose my progress now when I die. And then before I know it, I put in like 2-3 hours in this game, and it had its hooks in me.
And I turned it off, and you're like, why did I turn it off?
Exactly. Well, I actually had to take my card in mechanic. I had a legitimate reason to turn it off. But no, they kind of consumed my life here in the last week.
Yeah, so that was Wednesday night that we recorded. Is that right? Or was it Thursday?
It was Wednesday night.
It was Wednesday night. So you started playing Thursday, which was the 6th.
Yeah.
Today is Friday the 14th.
Mm-hmm.
And how far are you in Symphony of the Night?
I have completed the entire game.
200.6%.
Oh, no, not the 200. No, I beat the final boss.
Wait, Symphony. You beat Symphony.
I beat the main story arc.
Holy
in Symphony.
crap.
All of it. The upside and the downside.
I'm proud of you.
Yeah.
Congrats.
That is a fucking feat.
There was a part when the flip happened.
Right.
When the flip happened. That I got in there because I was texting Joe a little bit too during the end part of the normal castle.
Okay.
I didn't know where to go. I didn't know what I was doing, and I was like, man, like I'm actually like looking up the map online with like the actual like where the relics are and stuff like that. And I'm like, what am I missing? What am I doing? He's like, there is these rings you need. You should go find these rings.
I didn't even tell him that. I was like, there's things that sometimes people put on their hands. It might be jewelry, and I don't know, it might be a certain color, like the jewelry might be. And then, did you read the descriptions of the rings?
I did read the descriptions of them. I was like, I knew what I needed to do was in that room. I just didn't know what I needed to do.
Yeah.
So yeah, I got the ring. I keep hitting my watch on this cable. I don't know if the mic's picking up on it.
Yeah.
No. I'm just, if you keep hearing a clanking noise, that's my watch. Oh. Yeah. So I did look. I knew where the one was already, or I had a feeling where it was at the spike breaker room.
Oh yeah.
I had a feeling there was something there.
Right.
I didn't know what I needed, but I knew I needed something to get through there.
The first time I did that, I tried to go through as mist, and I just...
Nope. Yeah, I did the same thing. I died.
Yeah.
And I was kind of mad because I didn't save right there. I saved like the last one. I was like, oh.
Because you can get so far
That's
as
the bat.
mist. And then the bat, too... Yeah, but you run out of magic before you can get through. Or I think... Right, because you don't have the prolonged mist form yet. It's
Correct.
really short, and I tried to keep doing it, and it just...
Yeah. So... I knew that room I needed to get the
something
ring.
else was there.
Yeah, I knew someone was there, but then I had to look up where the other one was. I think that was the silver one was the one I had to look up where it was at.
I assume the mist is the equivalent of the phase amulet in Shovel Knight.
Yeah. But imagine it's so when you first get the form of mist, yeah, it is that. But then if you could somehow do that for a lot longer and just stay,
okay.
Yeah.
So yeah, I would like when I was looking for these rings or looking for whatever, and when I finally figured out where they were, going through them, I was just high leveled. I was just beating ass all around that castle. It didn't matter who I was running into.
One hit,
maybe two.
Right.
Then I had a little floating demon guy around with me. He was poking people.
Yeah.
Pretty awesome. And then I fight Richter in the normal castle, and then of course the Ember happens.
Yeah.
And then I got in there. I was like, okay, this. Well, first of all, it took me like a hot second to adjust myself because it's weird. It's definitely weird being in there, and you bat around a lot more. You have to.
Yeah, you have to be a bat. Yeah.
So it took me like a couple rooms to like adjust to like the new layout.
Yeah.
Then like I get into this first room, the enemies are, and I hit them, and they didn't die. I'm like, okay, second hit, still didn't die, and then they deal damage, and it's like 90 damage on my 300 health character. I'm like, I don't know what to do.
Yep.
what happened? So, like, I thought I kind of had an idea of where I wanted to do my pattern at.
Yeah.
Like relearning, recovering the map, but then I just hit roadblocks. There was enemies.
Yeah.
I just could not get past, so it kind of forced me to go one direction.
Yeah.
And then when I first got there, there's like 3 bosses right in that immediate spot, and I kept stumbling into these rooms and dying. And it was in that part I almost put it down. I almost was like, man, this is
just too much.
This is too much.
Yeah, I'm aggravated. Fuck this.
So a couple Vita flips in frustration. But then I was playing other things. Mafia 3 being one of them. That was probably the other core amount of time that I've spent in that game. But then, I was playing Mafia 3, and I'll get into that kind of sort of hot mess. And then there's that itch. I was like, man, I want to pick up my Vita again. And then it got to a point where I would play, go to a room, die, and like I'm done. Flip the Vita in frustration, go back to Mafia. Then the itch would happen again, and then go back to the Vita, die in that same room, do the Vita flip in frustration, go back to Mafia, and then I clear the room all of a sudden. I was like, oh, that feels good. And then before I know it, I cleared another room, and then I got to a save point, the first one in the like the first legitimate one where you're uncovering the map. I'm like, this is the first part of the game all over again. I just have to brace myself. I'm not overpowered. I just have to level up, grind.
Yep.
And then once I got through that little epiphany that I needed to get through, I just took back over my life. And then, yes, this morning, I beat Dracula.
Dun, 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 dun.
Dang.
So I have some questions.
Yes.
That I didn't get a chance to ask you because I was intentionally waiting to ask you on the podcast. Do you have a favorite weapon combination?
There was a while where, so like, once again, not being familiar with the Castlevania thing, I kept forgetting circle was a thing.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I just kept saying square for the
That's
one.
mostly what I do too.
And then, like, I kind of forget that like I had shields and
and the shield, I always forget about the shield in that game too. But then like sometimes you get into a room and you're running through and you're like, fuck this thing. And then you're like, oh wait, I should be using the shield to actually block it.
But then there was a while where, like, especially in the first Castlevania, I just got overpowered, so I didn't need, like, the second weapon. So I actually kept my potions in the other spot.
Oh,
so that way I can just do a quick one instead of going through the menus and
that
mess. So that was fine with that combination. And then I got to the invert, where the imps are, and they just button mash you and they connect you. And I was just draining my potions, like, no, fuck, no.
Yeah.
So I had to quickly just put another weapon there. There was a good while in the normal castle where I was using the Morning Star, the chain, the belt.
Did you ever use the shield rod?
No.
That one's interesting. That one I always forget about, and then you use it, and you can, depending on which shield you have in your other hand, it has like a different special attack that it does.
Huh.
It's really cool. Were you lucky enough to find, and I don't mean lucky enough like, I mean luck as in the game because you have to have a high luck rating, and it's all random chance. Were you lucky enough to find the chrysogram?
No.
Do you know of the chrysogram?
No.
It can only be found in the library, and I believe it's the inverted library.
Oh, it was called the Wizard of Oz room?
Yeah.
Yeah.
But in there's the shmoo, I think they are. They're the little things
the little
that look
ghosts.
like sock puppets.
Yep, the fly, yep.
I think it's them or the scarecrows that bounce around. But you kill them, and randomly you'll get this thing called the chrysogram. And it is the most amazing thing. I got it my very first playthrough as a boy. And never again. But when you hit square, not only does it do a slash, but it sends these other like waves of attacks. So it's just like, and you just wreck shit. And every hit is doing what your full damage would do. And it does them all really rapidly. And it just looks cool as shit too.
Yeah, when I actually, because I texted you about the Wizard of Oz room, like this is awesome.
So cool.
And
all little subtleties like that.
Yeah, and then that was the part where in the inverted, I was actually on par with my enemies. I wasn't overpowering them, but I was on par, so I was kind of moving through rooms a little bit easier.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So with that, what's your favorite area? And that might include enemies or just design, maybe even music. But do you have a favorite area or a favorite section or anything?
It was normal cast. I don't know the names, and I apologize to our hardcore Castlevania listeners. In normal castle, top right, the guitar music area outside. That is called the. Is that the outer castle?
The outer castle wall, but then you go in. Is that the clock tower? I think it is.
I think it's the clock tower. Yeah.
And that song I believe is called "Tragic Prince."
Yeah, the guitar came in. I was like, oh yeah.
Yeah.
And that big giant ghoul thing came. I was like, what the fuck is that?
That was a good one. Yeah. Well, maybe we'll do that as the break music here in a couple minutes. That one too. There's something about that atmosphere and that music that's just like.
And then this was kind of combination of yesterday and this morning. The Gallamouth, that giant fucker. Oh man,
the big old Sphinx boy.
Oh man, bad feels towards that gentleman. No, in that room. Normal, you got the skulls at the bottom. I forgot what boss fights in that room. But you got all like the skulls at the bottom of it. It's like just a giant, like something bad happened there. Some kind of massacre. Just all these skeletons along.
Is that the room that has the boss?
That's in the catacombs.
Is it the one where it's all like people mashed together in a big ball?
Yes, that's it. Yeah.
Yeah.
But yeah, he's in that room. But the very bottom of it, which is normal side, and the inverted, where you're actually playing on, that boss is a hard ass motherfucker.
Yeah.
A lot of bad feels. And then just as the big middle finger to you, there's letters at the very bottom of it, and it's purposely written upside down in the normal one, so you see it in the inverted. It says R.I.P. It's like a big giant middle finger. And and the first time I died, and I don't think I got that far in the room just because that fucker destroyed me. I got a little bit more competent the second time, and I saw that when I died.
Yeah.
And there was this attack that I never figured out a good strategy to avoid it. So instead of attack, I came in with a high defense rating and a low attack and just endured the lightning storm rod thing. But yeah, that rip thing. And as you're just caught in that thunder attack and you can't get out of, and you're getting knocked back and forth. Oh.
And now whenever you hear that like sad chorus that like climbs up a descendant chord, you just have this Pavlovian response of like, fuck.
Yeah, I was talking about the Vita flips in the beginning of the inverted castle. There was some harsh Vita flips and frustration noises. I was in the break room and I headphones in, of course.
Oh yeah.
And like no one else knows what's going on, but you just hear me shit. And I'm like and they're like, Dash knew I was playing,
right? So
Dash, I think, was kind of laughing a little bit, but
he knows what's happening.
Yeah.
What other questions did I have about it? I don't know. Overall,
very good.
Yeah,
very good. I know you call it perfect and a masterpiece. I have issues with the lack of story or not even the voiceover, because that's cheesy and that's so awesome.
I know.
But like at the end when she's like, everyone's waiting, let's go. Who the fuck is waiting? We've been in this castle forever.
Everyone, duh.
My playtime is 10 hours. That does not include the deaths. So like I've been in that cast for 25 hours, probably. Yeah. And
if they're waiting,
everyone's been waiting. Yeah. Evidently. Fucking bitch.
The story, I think on subsequent playthroughs, like you get different bits of the story just because you notice, like you're already noticing little tiny bits that are peppered in there, and there's a lot like that where every time I play that game I find something new, whether it's a new weapon I've never seen before or a new item that's just stupid. Like I think I played the game 5 or 6 times before I remember I talked about the pizza one time. Like I never got that. I never happened to me. I saw the frogs and I never thought of it. Yeah, and I never noticed it until I had played it a lot.
And I got to the confessional room too, and I remember
it's pretty good.
And I purposely sat
just to see what happens.
Yeah. Both sides you get hit.
Is it both sides? Yeah.
Both sides. Yeah. You just get hit with different things. But, because I avoided the first one.
Yeah.
I avoided the first seed because I remember what you said. I was like, I bet you know what? I get healed on the other side. Nope, same thing.
And I do think you do get healed, but I think it depends on the time of day. Or not time of day, but like because there is like an internal clock that's running.
Yeah, because the clock room constantly kicks around.
And I think depending on the hour or where you're at in the hour or something like that, like it will make a difference.
This just makes me want to replay Boktai.
Was that the Kojima game?
Probably, yeah. It's just like
on Game Boy Advance where you had to use the sunlight to actually have ammo to kill vampires.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Those are fun because you could play those like Metal Gear.
Yeah.
It's actually Snake made a cameo in one of them, just regular clothes. But yeah, like if you were like in a castle and you had to like, there was like zombies walking by. If you want to get their attention, go up on the wall and then be like and then they would hear it, go that way. Then you go with the other direction. And if you fought an enemy like a boss of some kind, you would seal him in a coffin. Then you have to drag that coffin throughout the level out into the sunlight just to obliterate them for good.
Damn. Yeah, I never played it. I want to though.
It's cool. It's like a weird like Metal Gear Zelda
vampire game.
Yeah, with like a gothic overtone.
I like Gothic overtones.
It's interesting.
Two other things about Symphony. Sorry.
Yeah.
Oh my god, I forgot what the first one was. Oh, I was gonna say the thing about the story, at least with me, like I never played any other games.
Yeah.
Like I know the Belmont name, and I know it's like a big deal in Castlevania, but like I don't know any other Belmonts besides Richter. And
Right.
For the first half of this game is evil.
Yeah.
So like, maybe like the story just didn't grab me because I don't have some backstory because I never played the NES.
I did the same thing
So
because I never could play the NES one because that cartridge never worked. My first real game was Castlevania: The Adventure, which anyone who's played don't. Outside of the great music, but then Symphony really was my first Castlevania, and then it wasn't until like you go back and you play through the NES trilogy.
Yeah, because I was like thinking the entire time, like, where's my whip?
Right,
like, Castlevania whip.
Right. Yeah.
This is Symphony. Like this is the Castlevania game according to a lot of people, and
the
I don't have a whip.
Like the whip only stays within the Belmont family.
Yep.
It's like their bloodline, like they dedicated themselves to maintain that.
And that was the other thing. I didn't realize Alucard wasn't a Belmont until like I think I met Maria for the first time.
Until you wrote his name backwards.
That one I figured out. But I didn't realize he was son of Dracula. I might have just missed it. It might have been said and I forgot about it. But
I think Death might make a mention of that at the beginning or something, but I don't remember.
Yeah, when he strips you.
And also I think that big long scrolling part at the beginning mentions it maybe.
Oh, it probably does.
Yeah, but that thing's at that point you're like, did I just beat the game? What? Yeah. What's over? What is happening?
Yeah, because I've always seen screenshots of that infamous like scene of Dracula and Richter talking,
right.
And I was like within the first 3 screens of the game, I was like, oh, that's early.
Yeah,
because I believe that's a continuation from
Dracula X
Rondo
of Blood.
Yeah, because you're Richter throughout that whole game, and then. Then you go.
This was meant to be like a sequel of sorts.
Yeah. And then you asked about favorite room, hated room.
Oh,
that the one I think it was the thing's considered the clock tower with all the gears and there's just shit, all the Medusa heads and there's some kind of flying enemy.
That's every game.
Yes, every game.
Every game.
I mean, anything that has a parabolic enemy. It
wasn't even like
pattern.
Medusa
clock
heads.
Tower, Medusa heads. It's
every game. They always have it. Fuck them.
Yeah.
And you know what? I will gladly take the ones that turn you to stone over the other ones. Because the other ones just piss you off. Because as you're trying to climb those precise gears, those motherfuckers just...
knock you back, and there's spikes, and...
Yeah. They're the worst. Yes. You are apt. That is always... I fucking hate that room more than anything.
Because by the time I got to that room, normally, I think I was a little overpowered at that point. Yeah. And then I got to that room, it was just so fucking annoying.
Because you never get the timing right. Like, as long as I've played Castlevania games, I'm never good at that. Like, you might get a little... That and the Flea Men. Fuck the Flea Men.
I thought they were hysterical.
Fucking terrible.
I mean, they were doing like 1 damage to me. Like,
I know, but it's just annoying because you're like trying to run through and then you get knocked back.
Yeah, but then they started... Then they got bold as Flea Men. They started riding birds and onyxes. I was calling them onyxes.
Yeah.
And then they're like, boy, you got a pretty mouth. Let me go stick my Flea Man in it.
Oh, gross.
They're just humping. That's all they do.
I know. They're bad. Oh, man. I played... once you started playing that and you told me, I was like, oh, and then I jumped into a random save that I have on Vita. And then I remembered Castlevania Chronicles, so I went back and played a little bit of that in anticipation of our stream tomorrow. But Castlevania Chronicles is a PS1 game. It's like 2001, and it starts off as basically a remake of Castlevania for NES, just done with like PS1 style 2D graphics. Not as good. It's more like 2.5D in 2001, and not so much Symphony of the Night's beautiful sprites. But after the first stage, it's like you're in a weird world. There's some like similar themes and stuff, similar enemies, music, but it's very different. I like it though so far. It's weird and good.
Yeah, I appreciate the aesthetic choices with Symphony, especially the not. In an era where everyone want to do like CG sequences, that when you look back at them now are just look awful.
Yeah,
I was glad of the lack thereof, except for like the outside shots of the castle.
It's funny because like didn't they originally go with that way because it was the easier route?
Symphony of the Night.
Yeah,
probably.
The fact that like to do sprite work and all that as to fully.
Yeah, because they were a team of like 12 people or something less than that.
So they're like, yeah, we'll just keep this And
I
love how it's the opposite.
Yeah.
Now. Now it's too hard
to do. Yeah,
to
exactly.
do sprite work.
I know.
It's so easy to do with 3D models.
Yeah, they did, because they put their A team, air quotes, on 64, and they put all the money in the budget into that. And then they gave Symphony of the Night to, not a B team, but just like some guys who were hanging out who did some work on the PC Engine
Our
games
interns.
and stuff. Right. I played one other thing, and Matt, you played a little bit of it this morning before we recorded. Thumper. It is a rhythm horror game. So imagine Amplitude.
Right, because I remember looking this up when you told me about it. It's like rhythm horror.
Yeah,
and I can see why it has a horror vibe, but the way they were describing it, officially, it was like it's a rhythm violent game or whatever. I'm like, violence is its own.
And I don't know. I'm waiting on more of the horror piece to come. I think some of it comes with
it's just like an acid trip.
The general, but it you know what it reminds me of? Like, it reminds me of the feeling that I got on a haunted hayride, but if I were barreling as fast as I could through like the tunnel of my mind. So I guess it is like an acid trip, I guess.
It's like if F-Zero had a spooky level.
Yeah, pretty much. It's Amplitude. It's anything with that scrolling highway, but without the actual It
was like a more hardcore. Was it Trackmania?
Yeah, it's not so much like you're hitting the nodes for each musical note as much as it is like rhythmic. Like there's percussive beats that you're hitting. So there's things that'll scroll along on the highway, and you tap X for those as they come. Then there's curves that you have to like lean away from so you don't bash into them. And those all have their own drum beat to them, and
they make like a sword sound almost, like a quiching, like when you hit the sides of them.
Yeah,
it's like a metal clink.
Yeah, and it's funny because when I was taking notes on it for to talk about it and just trying to keep my thoughts together, and every level as you play, you're learning something new. This is when you press X, this is when you press left, this is when you press up, and whatever. And as I'm playing it, I'm like, this is good, but it sucks that like something great about Rock Band and any other rhythm game is that someone comes over and they can see it and they just get it. They're like, oh, I hit this. Okay, I got it. And I was thinking like this doesn't have that because you're iterating on what you're learning.
Yeah.
But I mean, you can attest to this, but I was showing Matt and I'm playing it for a second and I was like, do you want to try it? It's X for those things, up for this thing, and blah, blah, blah. And Matt jumped in and you were kind of like, oh, wait, oh, fuck, okay. All right. Oh, wait. Oh, and then you got it. And then you beat the stage that I couldn't beat. And I played through the whole first stage and then some already. So how do you feel about it?
No, it was a lot of fun. Definitely got the Amplitude vibe. I kept saying like rock band. Just that track. I just see the trackboard. I see the frets. And it kind of came back to me as soon as I started playing.
Right.
Didn't quite get the horror vibe, especially like in the level you popped me in at, but
they've all been like that. Where like the closest thing I had to a horror vibe was the stage 1 final boss.
Really?
Because every level is like level 1-1, 2, 3, 4, and each of them build upon the last. Then you have like level 1 Omega was the final boss of that, and that one was like this big skull looking demon man thing. But you interact with it the same way, where you have to time you have to get like a perfect score, and you have to hit everything. And then eventually, there's a big note. And when you hit that one, it actually fires a shot and hits the boss.
Okay.
But yeah, we're good.
I liked it. I actually might pique my interest. I might actually take a purchase at it.
Yeah, I know. It's $20. It's on PS4. It's on Steam, and it's on VR. So that also piqued my interest in VR. Where I was like, I think I might have to do it.
It'll be a while before I do it.
I think I might do it like tomorrow. I don't know. We'll find out.
I think I'm gonna wait a little bit more. I just want more of a catalog, and right now I don't have the room either. That's my other concern.
I already hate if you look behind the like. Katie's done a very great job both in our apartment and now in the house of keeping everything very minimal. But if you look behind that fucking TV. Oh boy, there are some. It's a spider web of nightmares.
Anyone who's has game consoles can. There's probably a nightmare behind.
But I think it's something like 16 new cables I'd have to introduce into my life if I got PSVR.
Yes.
Now. So I don't know.
Yeah, but I have mine. Like I have a dresser. It's like super not tall but long. And it's got all this. Got TV, my PlayStation, a Wii. I got all this crap hooked up, and I haven't actually looking not that bad.
Yeah.
But man,
you still
my worst nightmare is going and doing cable management. If I get a new console or anything like that, I hate going back there.
It's the worst.
And I try to organize it all I need to do is just plug something in, but then every time I get behind there, I'm just like, I want to organize this.
Yeah.
And then I organize it, and then I introduce something where I'm like, oh, it's still organized, and then I fuck up the entire thing.
Thumper, I think it's pretty dope. I'm going to keep playing more of it. But I would check it out. It's $20. I'd say it's worth it.
Piqued my interest. Oh, sorry, I didn't mean to cut you.
No, you're good.
Piqued my interest. I think I want to try, like I said, the whole thing about Mafia 3. I think I just want to complete the story now at this point because that's what it is mechanically. But if I do that before my inevitable prediction flash sale up until Dawn and possibly Bloodborne, that still hasn't happened yet. I think I'm going to pick up Thumper.
Yeah.
Little 10 minutes I played. Got it.
No, Mafia 3, that was what I was going to say. Before we go to break, tell me about Mafia 3 because you talked about it last week. You were going to get it the next day or whenever it was coming out.
Mafia 3?
Tell us. Lay the scoop down.
Man, first 3 hours.
Yeah?
Because open world game, they do, it has to hold your hand.
Because it's slow build, yeah.
You just can't throw me out there. Mm-hmm. So the first 3 hours was story building and kind of you really didn't get into the open world until like it kind of happened. Mm-hmm. So it's kind of getting you into the setting, like letting you know, hey, this is 60s.
Yeah.
New Orleans. They call it New Bordeaux, but it's New Orleans.
Right.
There's got the whole bayou and the whole right side of the map. It does a great job introducing you to that setting, letting you know this is
a different time.
This is a different time. You are playing as an African American character, and it's very racial charged time, and it lets you know quite fast. There's even like a little disclaimer from Hangar 13, I think is the developer for 2K who did it. There's a little disclaimer that says at the beginning is like, hey, this is the way it is because of the time, and it wouldn't be appropriate if we did not have this in there. So they're saying like the actions of these characters that we created don't reflect our views of these times.
They're just trying to be historically accurate.
Yeah, they were saying like it would be I don't remember the exact wording, but it pretty much said it would be a crime if we didn't include these things in there to kind of shed light onto what happened in our country.
Yeah.
So I saw that, I was like, oh,
yeah,
okay,
it's gonna be good.
And then the first part of it is like you're in the middle of this big heist. You're just in the middle of it, like you're thrown right in the middle of it and kind of getting the controls a little bit. And then like it keeps cutting away from this heist and taking you to other parts, like them planning and you introducing these characters that you're with.
That's a cool way to.
And they're doing it in this documentary style. So like these documentary things, they're taken after the events of what happens in the game, and they're saying, you have this CIA agent. His name's Preston. I think his name's Preston Donovan, if I remember correctly. He's like at a Senate hearing, and he's like, the judges are like grilling him on being part of this plan. He's like, well, I did it because of X, Y, and Z, and like he will say why, and then it'll cut to you in game with that character. This cool documentary theme for 3 hours. It was awesome. Just awesome. I was like, all right, I'm invested. And then the open world happened. And then it's a GTA clone.
Damn.
Setting's super cool. It's fun to ride around. Cars seem accurate for the time. New Orleans is cool because you got the whole bayou thing where it's so redneck, and there's like the redneck rackets out there.
Yeah.
In the city is like a regular popular city. There's all kinds of cars, and like you can see like the racial segregations, like white in the city, bayou, not redneck, black, like all that kind of stuff. It's pretty cool when you're out because you start off in like the ghetto, pretty much, and when you commit crimes there, it's a little mechanic where once you commit a crime, someone witnesses it and they go to a phone and like you can run them over, but that just starts a whole other thing because someone sees you run over that person, so just escape.
It's interesting.
It's interesting,
That's
but
a
then
cool
as soon
mechanic.
as you like try to counter it, someone else sees next crime, and then when you try to counter that, someone else sees that crime. You just get away from the area. It's a mechanic that's cool, but then half baked, and that's kind of like a whole series of things there.
Sounds like a metaphor for the whole game.
But yeah, when you commit a crime though, and they make this call, like you kind of hear like the dispatcher,
Yeah.
and they're like, oh, if someone's in the area and you want to check it out, go ahead. Like not doesn't need it, but then a couple hours later when you're in the actual like city, cops are there like that.
Oh, interesting.
I was like, ooh,
Huh.
ooh, that's cool.
Huh.
There's just
Elevation and yeah.
the settings for like the collectibles, like you're actually like Playboy magazines. You're actually collecting Playboy magazines, and you can view
who
these.
doesn't?
You can view these magazines.
Uh,
Yeah, there's
Pages-
naked ladies in there.
Pages aren't sticky.
That's correct.
not yet.
I am collecting Playboys.
And they're
from the
actual
60s.
Playboys, or are you using Playboy as like a
It's Playboy.
Playboy trademark?
Yeah. And
Okay.
like I said, it's not the whole magazine, but there's images of that magazine, like probably like the bunny of the month.
Interesting.
Actually, I forget. They just recently released an article about a video game. And I forget which one.
Playboy the Mansion.
No. But there was actually like article, like an interview with somebody in a Playboy magazine or on their website. But it was interesting.
Yeah, because they're weird now. They're
Yeah.
different.
They actually have stuff to read.
Yeah, they're trying to like, I don't know, be a real
Yeah.
publication instead of just boobs.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Just adjusting to the time. Yeah, but the setting's really cool. I do enjoy riding around. It's just the mission structure. It's getting repetitive already, and
Yeah.
I'm not even that far into the game. You have to. It's a cool idea. Like there's these rackets, and you want to take them over, so that way you start gaining money, so you can take down the main person who ends up killing like your close friends, your father figure in the ghetto.
Yeah.
So it's like a revenge story pretty much, and you're getting these rackets, and you're partnering up with people from like this past heist that this guy also betrayed them in some way. So it's this big revenge story with all these people. So like you work your way of obtaining the racket, but you do that by like busting up their income, and you'll get a number when you're doing these missions. Like you have to destroy $20,000 worth of equipment. So like you can destroy. Like one of it was like a gas racket or something like that. So like there was all these containers of like gas, and if you blow them up, like $1,000 drops off the number. And once you hit 0, you get like a more serious story mission to take out the racket leader. And then once you take out the racket leader, that racket is yours, and you assign it to one of your partners, and your partners
That's a cool.
gain trust. You gain trust with them because they're all like, well, they're all shady. They're all mobsters.
Yeah,
they're all
yeah.
shady, and they're all in their own way. So you want to try to build your trust level with them, and I think that's going to become more apparent what that means as I get later on into the story. But yeah, it's just you keep doing that. Like you keep blowing up like a crate, or you're finding like $250 on a random desk in this area. Like it's a cool idea. It's just they're not doing anything unique with it.
Yeah.
But once you actually get to the story mission to take out the leader for
An advance something.
yeah, and then it cuts back to that documentary style, and I'm like, I want more of the documentary style, but because it's open world, you get it once every 3 hours.
Interesting.
So
I wonder if they should just Mafia 4 just cut out the open world stuff.
that's
just make it a cool linear story,
and as soon as I
or do a spin-off game.
my complete the map, clear the map like syndrome.
Yeah.
It was
Obsessive
taking me
clearing
away.
I know.
Yeah.
I love obsessive clearing disorder. That's really good.
Like I was collecting everything, and I was doing like these. So like you can get like an idea of what's in that area by tapping like phone lines, and that's where your CIA partner comes in. Like you pick up these electronic pieces, and then use these electronic pieces to pretty much break open phone lines and put like a wiretap into it, and then that lets you know where the enemies are at in that area, where the collectibles are, and like I was doing that constantly.
Yeah.
And then I was like, why am I doing this for the collectibles when I don't like doing this? So the other night I kind of made it more of a commitment to just try my best to ignore
and push you
those collectibles and
yeah.
just keep doing the story. And I found once I kind of started doing that, I enjoy the game more because I'm getting to those cutscenes more. I'm getting to those fun story missions. And I was doing each, like there's multiple locations where you can destroy the income, but you only need to go to 2 of them. So instead of clearing them all out, I just go to 2 of them, get what I need to do done, and then move on. So platinum, I'm never going to get a platinum in this game, and I don't want it, to be completely honest at this point. I just want to get to the story because the story is where it's at, and every time I get to a documentary thing, it's why I'm still playing the game.
Nice.
It's disappointing from a gameplay perspective,
but the story you're enjoying.
The story I'm enjoying.
It's the opposite of Symphony of the Night.
Yeah. That's not fair to Symphony of the Night, though, because that story, there's like 3 scenes, and I didn't care.
I know.
I just want to keep playing.
So Mafia 3, yay, nay, for now?
I'm going to wait for it to go on sale, and then I'll give it a yay then, but don't go in as an open world game.
If you're looking for a new GTA, just go buy GTA 5 again.
Yeah. Play in first person, whatever.
There you go. Well, I think it's time for a little break. And when we get back, we'll do some show and tell. Just talk about some things that we find interesting for the week. Sound good? All right, we'll be right back. Welcome back to the Free Cheese, episode 167. It's time for a segment we call Show and Tell, where we bring things to the conversation that we have, come across in the last week, whether it's a news story or just a theme or a topic or something we want to talk about. And this week, I want to talk about old video games. Surprise! So I was in Target the other night. Surprise! And, I don't remember what I was buying. Doesn't matter. But I'm wandering back through video games as I always do. And I came across this scene that looked like, the day after Black Friday. Except it's in October. So where the Disney Infinity toys were, because they no longer are. The whole section in Target has been stripped and replaced with Lego games. It was the one section. Not Lego Dimensions, but just Lego games. So I don't know what that means. And then to the right of that is what I found most interesting, retro gaming. And it has a big, their Target sign just above it, retro gaming. And
30-year-olds.
Yeah.
Or older.
But it's all empty shelves. So the whole Lego section is empty. And then the retro gaming section is mostly empty, save for the following items. On pegboard and hanging, we have some tube socks that are NES controllers in various neon colors. Along with 2 empty hangers of game socks that aren't filled. There's a Super Mario Brothers wallet.
That's actually really cool.
A Sonic the Hedgehog watch. Pac-Man stress ball. What looked like Game Boy keychains. An 8-bit Mario wall art. And then beneath that on the actual shelves are an empty cardboard display unit that says PS4 Flashback Classics with little price tags beneath, advertising Atari Flashbacks Volume 1, Volume 2, etc., etc. There is, and then we have these consoles. So you have the Sega Genesis Classic Game Console, which includes 80 built-in games. There's also a Sega Genesis Ultimate Portable Game Player. and Atari Flashback 7. All sitting on the shelves. Now, these are nothing new. When the NES Mini Classic was announced, I kind of thought of these things immediately, these plug-and-play machines that have been out for a while. The difference is that the NES Classic is actually seemingly quite good, and these are not good. Quite literally, on over at usgamer.net, gaming's #1 historian, Jeremy Parrish, reviewed the new, the company's called Et Games that makes these Sega Genesis Classic machines, and he was reviewing them. I saw him tweet the other day, was going to review the Et Games Sega Genesis console, but 30 minutes into playing, it died. Wow. So these are $50 from what I can see on the Target price tag. 80 games built in, looks like a Sega Genesis kind of, with wireless controllers and all these games built in. There is an article at US Gamer, and this, as with anything in show and tell that we find relevant, I'll have links to all the stuff we're about to talk about on the website. But yeah, he posted over at US Gamer not only the review but screenshots of the emulation. We saw what in the last week or two, the press got their hands on the NES Classic, and Nintendo allowed them to put footage out there, and I watched some of it for the NES Classic, and it looks really good, and the menus are really, really well designed and well thought. The whole UI is great, and then looking at this, it looks like the dollar store trash that it is. And even the emulation looks fine to, a quick glance, but I'm sure when you really get into it, it's not great.
You said those controls are wireless?
They are, which...
I'm scared of any lag time.
Now, actually looking at Sonic, this looks awful.
Yeah.
If you look at his actual character sprite, it's pretty bad.
Well, that whole section of Target looks kind of awful.
So you said that. I said this to you, and I sent that picture to you, and you were very quickly responded with like, ugh.
Yeah, just because of what they're advertising, where it's at, and...
Tell me your thoughts, because I know you got to go in a minute. So I want to hear kind of where you stand on this.
Everything just looks like just easy money. It's just, hey, selling to people who are just drunk on nostalgia and make money off of that. I don't see any real love being put into it. It's just I don't know.
Cash grab?
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's just a bunch of... everything that you've described just looks like stocking stuffers. And I guarantee you that's the only reason why it's there.
These are the grandma purchases.
Yes.
Oh, he likes those video games. Let me...
Yeah, well, let's
Talk
get
about 7-year-old Betty.
Because, nobody wants socks, but then once you slap the NES control on it, everybody might want those socks now.
I kind of want those socks.
I was going to say, I kind of like that wallet. I just had to see that.
The wallet is what I hate the most. Because of the wallet, I want to get the stress ball.
Well, before I get you the Sonic the Hedgehog
actually,
watch,
the socks are probably worse, in my opinion.
What do you want out of a section called retro gaming?
I don't want that
at all.
No.
So what do you
I mean, it's cool if you want to put retro stuff out there, but I don't want a label on it. Because it's already segregating itself from the rest of the video games, and it's like, well, what? Just because it came out at a different time, it gives you a different impression on it than everything. And yeah, and some things might be good back then, hindsight 2020 or rose tinted goggles or whatever. But how there's good and bad things now, and there's good and bad things then. Not much has changed, just how we do it.
True, but I don't. To me, and this is kind of what I told you is, I hate a lot of this. Yes, I'm not happy with a lot of this. It's very dollar store trash.
I don't mind retro stuff. If there's a retro store, that's fine because that's what they're dedicated towards. That's their passion. They want to, which I'm sure you'll tell me, they want to preserve this kind of history, and I like that. I don't think Target is doing that.
No, but Target is grabbing the wider audience. Target is hoping
to grab them anyway, because it's up to the person.
It's still someone walking by. You know what I mean? I don't think that something like Minecraft is necessarily what it is because of the fact that it's a game that's out there. I think it's popular because when kids walk through Target, in the aisle, there's Minecraft foam swords hanging. There's Minecraft t-shirts in the boys section.
Creeper.
Right. There's all of this merchandise everywhere. And I think that this is not necessarily a great step.
Yeah.
I don't know if it's the first or the last step, but I think it is a step into let's remind people that these things are important. And I think that, I don't know, in a world where we don't give a fuck about preserving video games, or at least the large majority, there's plenty of people who will, they've collected VHS tapes, they've collected DVDs of their favorite movies. Same thing with music.
Yeah.
Even when music changed its platform from 8-track, vinyl, 8-track, to CD, to MP3, back to vinyl. We've had a way to preserve them and play these things, whereas video games don't get the same treatment. And I think largely it's because people look at them as just this hobby thing that's not important in that kind of sense, in this art history sort of sense. I think that this is gross. Yes, I agree with you there, but I think that there are stupid people who will eat this shit up, literally. Yeah. And I don't mean that I just mean stupid.
Actually, for all you know, that they probably already did.
That might be why it's empty.
I
just don't think it was stuff.
I think was this in the gaming section of Target? Or was this like okay?
Yeah, it was right by all the.
And a side note to the Atari's Volume 1 and 2 for PS4. You mean to tell me a Blu-ray can't hold every single Atari game?
Nope. Not when you want to charge $19.99 for each copy of it.
Like I could see the bullshit right there.
I know, but that's.
I mean, I get it. Like it's a necessary
evil.
Yeah, I'm gonna call it evil. It's a necessary evil. And it's cool, but at the same time, I realize that it's not for me. So, because, like I said before, like with me and how I grew up with it, I feel like I've become, I guess, a little more fickle and picky about it, and more snobby with my tastes.
No, I'm not disagreeing with that at all. I think that all this stuff is really, really just, it's not anything that I would ever have. Like,
I think what bothers me the most is that the fact that it's labeled as just retro gaming. I don't know. Just for some reason, the name gives off to me like a negative vibe.
Interesting.
If you can't touch the content in the aisle, what would you name it?
I wouldn't name it really anything. It would just be like gaming memorabilia.
I feel like that's even more pandering.
I would think,
but it's saying exactly what it is.
Sure.
I mean, retro, like, you could put anything under that. I mean, which works, but, like, when is something deemed retro? How long before 360 is retro? How long before PS4 is retro? Like, what is the time span with that?
10 years.
To you, maybe? But, like, it can get confusing later down the line if that continues to be a thing. It's like, how much room are you going to have for retro? Until it gets wider and wider and wider because you have to fit all these other consoles we've had, or whatever, into that little section.
Maybe, but
it's probably only there for the holiday.
Maybe. I'm not focusing so much on that as it's just, I don't know. I feel like it is highlighting something important. Like, these are bad examples.
Like, does retro stop at 1999?
Yeah. Just like Dracula. And Prince. The Genesis console, as we've learned, at least from somebody that I trust, is real trash. I can't speak to the Atari ones or the handheld Genesis one. I assume that these are there because they're anticipating the NES Mini is going to end up here as well, right? But
I mean, like, it's Target, so I don't expect any better from them.
Sure. I don't know.
Just how long before we get Funko figures of...
But I'm hoping that what this does is, even if it just changes one guy's opinion, it's one person's opinion, for someone to go and spend $50 on one of these Genesis consoles, play it and have it break like it did on Jeremy, and then say, like, fuck this, I miss these games, I want a good thing. And then the market dictates that, hey, we should have a real way to play these things in a good way. And we'll talk in a minute after we let Marc get out the door. But we'll talk a little bit about some folks that are doing that right now.
Yeah. I mean, like, if people can get a good experience out of something like that, and it's a good gateway to something better, I mean, that's cool.
It's,
I just on the business side,
It's gross. It's predatory. Yeah. I don't disagree with that.
Yeah,
but it's also the Napster of, you know what I mean? Where like Napster's gross. I mean, it was great.
It was illegal.
Right. It was illegal.
That was more of a LimeWire.
Right. No, I know. But Napster was.
What a logo.
But you know, you're stealing from Lars Ulrich, and that's never a good thing to do. But that was something that was like. It was a messy situation. It was gross at the time for some people. It was great for others. But it was a necessary evil in terms of getting us from where we were to where we are now.
And besides, Hot Topic and Spencer beat Target to it.
They did. But your Target people are not walking in Hot Topic and Spencer's, right? So the people that are walking into Target... This is definitely, it's gross, but I think it's necessary in order to get the message out there. Like, hey, this is shit that we have to care about again.
My fear is that, you know, you buy this and it breaks on you, and then the next one you see, which is like the legitimate Nintendo one, you just have no trust for.
There's that too.
That's my main concern about this
very much
junk being out there.
Yeah, that's true. That's not a bad point, and I don't like that either. But I think it's going to help us start to set a standard for emulation for... Because right now, the only real way to play a lot of classic games is to literally steal them from the internet, which is... Because even if you go and buy the original hardware, sometimes it's not available. There are games out there that you literally cannot play unless you steal them. They're just lost to time. Other than that way, and there's no real way to back these things up. So I know we just took a break, but we're going to just pause for a sec. Everybody say goodbye to Marc.
I guess one last thing to put on it.
Yeah.
Just to quote what I said when we first talked about it.
Yeah.
Because I think the two fields were like business and love for video games. Mm-hmm. And I was like, so it kind of goes hand in hand. It's just uncomfortable and sweaty hand holding.
And that's life with Marc.
Yeah, sweaty hands.
Marc, thank you so much for hanging out. Listeners, we'll be back in just 2 seconds. Peace. So, the two things I'm going to talk about are kind of one and the same anyway, but coincidentally, this week, as I'm thinking about all this stuff, and I'm still waiting on my Game Boy to show up from Japan, and all of this, Retronauts, one of my favorite podcasts. If you haven't been listening to it for the last 10 years, you should have been, and you can still. But Retronauts, the aforementioned Jeremy Parrish of usgamer.net, this was a podcast that started back when 1UP, and this episode brings in Frank Cifaldi, Mike Micah, and Steve Lynn, who Frank and Mike both work at Digital Eclipse. We're going to talk a lot about them in a sec here. And they're both kind of video game historians in their own right. Steve Lynn, I stumbled upon him just from people that I follow on Twitter, and then I've just continued to follow him for years. But he is, as well, right now he's from the Video Game History Foundation in Oakland, California. But he's always got something goofy. Like, he was the first guy I ever saw, like, with a picture of the Sony or the Nintendo PlayStation. You know what I mean? Like, he's always got some weird, like, artifact that's been unearthed somehow. Mike Micah was part of... Mike Micah's been around for a long time, and he's done a lot of work in video game history and preservation, but he notably part of Other Ocean, where they made iDarb. People might remember that from last year, 2 years ago, on Xbox One, primarily. But he's worked in video games for a very long time. I'm trying to think of like another big thing with him. He, I know, worked on one of the cool artifacts that I remember from him is the Game Boy version of Gauntlet that never got released. But him talking about that, and I don't know, there's a lot. And then Frank Cifaldi, formerly at 1UP, now he's also at he's at Digital Eclipse, which Digital Eclipse spun out of Backbone Entertainment, or they're all kind of synonymous, but they today between, so who do we have here? They've got Andrew Ayer, who I'm not familiar with, but he was part of Backbone Entertainment and the aforementioned Other Ocean. He's the president and CEO of Digital Eclipse. Frank Cifaldi is the head of their restoration, and Mike Micah is head of development. And basically what they're doing at Digital Eclipse, and they're talking a bit, the whole Retronauts episode this week was about collecting and preserving video game ephemera. And just them talking about the weird shit that they've collected, where like they heard that the Atari building was going to be taken down. So they made sure they went there and they have a physical piece of the building.
That's awesome.
Right? Like just because someone has to have it and they're the ones that have it.
Yeah.
At Digital Eclipse, they're the ones behind the Mega Man Legacy Collection that was released late last year. And they prided themselves on really making that, what I always talk about and scream about, wanting the Criterion Collection for this kind of stuff.
The Mega Man collection, didn't that just get released again on PlayStation 4, or is that a different collection?
Same thing. No, that's the one.
Okay.
Yeah, this is the one. And this was, not only did they like make everything pixel perfect and make sure that it played exactly like it should in a modern setting, but they included every piece of information they could, where they dug up every last little sketch they could find from Inafune and the other people at the Capcom team. And they continue to do so. So they've got, if you don't mind, I'm going to read just this little bit.
Go for it.
Where they talk about the engine they've developed, because they've made this engine that's going to help them easily port games. Mm-hmm. So it says here under their Eclipse engine section, digitize a movie once and it's watchable forever, no matter how the technology evolves. Scan a book and it can be reprinted infinitely. Port a game and it's only playable on that one platform. Getting it running anywhere else would require a significant amount of work and investment. And then they go on to talk about the dummy text lorem ipsum, and just its history and how it's become like something we reuse all the time just because it's whatever. But they're trying to do the same idea, where they create something where they can very easily filter things through their engine, and it's not only playable on current PC, portable, and consoles, but anything else that's potentially coming down the line.
Yeah, I know we listen to the same podcast, but Colin Moriarty of Kinda Funny, he was saying about this game that not only, they didn't just port the game, they ported Nintendo's engine to run inside of PlayStation. He's saying like the little screen tears, the little like blank lines, that he is a huge Mega Man fan, and that's, if you listen to any of his podcast with Greg, you know that, you understand that, and he's saying that it plays exactly pretty much how it does on the NES version, which is incredible. Yeah. I remember when they announced the Mega Man Legacy Collection, and they announced that Mike Micah and Frank Cifaldi were both behind it. I was like, oh, we're good. Then we're good. Frank also runs a website called lostlevels.org, which, if you haven't been there, I would recommend checking that out. That's got a lot of really, really cool stuff, where just things we forgot about, or things that never were released, or whatever. This lostlevels.org was famously one of the first websites to really talk about Earthbound Zero and get in contact with that weird. If you're unfamiliar with the Earthbound story, we have a whole history of Mother on the Free Cheese. You can go check out. Just search for what was the article called? It was called "Mom, Please Come Home." Was the name of the article I wrote. I kind of went through the whole history of it, including the weird eBay selling of Earthbound Zero from a former Nintendo of Canada employee. There's this weird fucked up history. Vaguely remember that.
Yeah, I would check that out if you're curious about it. But Lost Levels was a big part of that, and Frank has run that website for a while. But I don't know, both those two, along with Stephen Lynn on the podcast this week on Retronauts, were really, really, I don't know, just the stuff they're talking about, finding and preserving, and how they go about preserving things, where they'll go to these big estate sales or businesses that close down, and they're not there for the things that people think they're there for. They're there to go through the banker's boxes and dig through thousands of sheets of paper to find some specific thing that they think they might need, that kind of stuff. The stuff that everybody's ready to throw away and forget about, but they're making sure that not only are the games being preserved in a way, and they're doing that through digital eclipse, but they're talking about how they're making sure the culture is preserved, because that's a big part of it too. Like, we talk about the Genesis clone console and these Atari flashback consoles, all of these things, and it's, I don't know, this nostalgia piece is one part of it, but like, nostalgia is a very tricky thing because you're not remembering the thing. Anybody that's ever gone back to something they once loved typically finds that it's not always exactly what you remember.
Not sunshine and roses,
right?
No.
Because you're not remembering that thing for what it was. You're remembering it for that thing at that point in time and everything else that was surrounding it. When I go back and I play, I don't know, anything on the Genesis really, or certain NES games that I played as a kid. Like even Castlevania the Adventure, we talked about that earlier, and it's fitting for our cover story this month, but Castlevania the Adventure, I remember just loving that game on Game Boy because the music was so good. I finally got to play what I always dreamed I would be playing on the NES when that cartridge never worked. And now you go back and play that game, and that game is awful. It's really, really bad. The music's still great. It's still amazing. You still feel cool with that whip, but it's so sluggish compared. And the NES Castlevania, Simon's really sluggish and just drags his feet. But it's way more of a slog than even that was. But I don't remember it like that. I remember it in this bigger, everything was golden and everything was great. And I don't know, you're remembering where you played it, when you played it, what you smelled, what you saw around you, not only just what was on the screen.
Oh, yeah. I have a similar story with Batman Forever and SNES.
Fuck that game. God, fuck that game. Go ahead, though. Yeah,
it was Batman.
Yeah.
It was co-op.
Yeah.
Someone could be Robin.
Yeah.
Friends come over, play Batman.
Yeah.
You were Batman. And then... I go through this phase because I still have my SNES for that reason. Just because I'm not one to trade in my consoles. I like keeping stuff around. Now I don't have every console of every generation just because money is an issue. but no, you try to keep one of each generation. So I have my first PlayStation. I have my PS2 still. PS3 obviously. Now PS4. But I also had an SNES.
Yeah.
Don't have the original NES. That was a little before my time. But yeah, I still have my SNES.
Yeah.
And I go through this phase every once in a while where I'll just plug it in. Probably Super Mario World's usually my go-to.
Yeah.
And there was one time I was like, oh man, Batman Forever sitting here. I know the game's garbage. I know, like, just reading stories and just being more knowledgeable. And I know that game's garbage. Like, let me put it in.
Yeah.
It can't be that bad. I remember liking this game.
Right.
Oh man,
it's so bad.
That's a dumpster fire I've ever seen.
Yeah, and but that's the nostalgia piece where it's a slippery slope because you remember it and feel it a certain way, but it is not always indicative of that.
I was just talking about WWF No Mercy. I wonder if I've had the same treatment with that game going back to it.
Yeah, I mean, because even like with certain cartoons and stuff, like certain things still hold up when you go back to them in a different way, but in a way of themselves. But I've gone back and I've tried to watch certain things and they just don't. They're tainted or they're different or they're weird because I'm not that same person. The world isn't the same place. Things aren't the same. Everything's changed. And I think that if we're going to try to preserve video game history, a big piece of it is preserving as much as we can, including a piece of the building that Atari once made their consoles in, or preserving some weird finance sheet with a projected list of games that would never exist. And I think it's cool that they're doing that. I don't know. I'll have links to all this stuff so you can go check it all out. But I'd recommend peering around and seeing what's out there.
Yeah, this is definitely important. And as someone who watches the Oscars every year, it's like a religious thing.
Yeah.
They always talk about preserving film and how, it is easy, a little bit easier with film just because once you digitize it, it's digitized and it's there forever. Right. But no, it's important to remember like where this came from. And it's so cool just to think like wasn't that long ago that video games came around.
No,
it really wasn't. Like,
it's a young industry, and that's why there's not that much care taken for it. But
like, film goes way back.
It does. Film and comic books are almost one and the same.
Yeah.
And if you look at film, like they used to throw films away. Where they get done, they'd send them off to air, and then they'd throw the reels in the trash. And there are some films that were lost to time until, of course, they realized, oh shit, we should keep these. And same thing with comic books. There were things that people folded up in their back pockets and traded to other people, and they were torn and discarded and whatever. They weren't taken seriously. But now we have digital versions of all that stuff. You have museums that have original copies of it, and that's one thing. But you also have DC and Marvel.
They're obtainable.
Right.
Yeah,
I can read Detective Comics 27 and see where Batman came from without having to spend $1.5 million.
Yeah.
Just like I can watch The Wizard of Oz. Just like I can, anything. And right now, I can play, I don't know, Klaxon, but I have to track down an old arcade machine or steal it, and it's not a good thing. I might be wrong about that one in particular, right? Like that might be released somewhere.
Yeah, I mean, I have Super Mario World and kind of in my back pocket. Just take some hookup time and going through the treasure of going behind my dresser drawer and dealing with that wire mess. But no, I mean, Super Mario Brothers on NES, the original classic.
Yeah.
I don't have a means of playing legitimately. Don't have an NES. I get downloaded from like the virtual console, but I mean, it's not the same.
No, and even that too. Like even if you're trying to download Super Mario Brothers, you play it on Wii U, and it's dark and washed out, and it looks like shit.
Mm-hmm.
There's no standard for what the emulation should look like. I hope that a company like Digital Eclipse is going to start to set some sort of standard and make it so that everybody is held to some certain level of quality. But yeah, I don't know. We're in a weird place. We're in a weird place where the Virtual Console's been around for just about a decade now. It'll be a decade in November.
The Wii debuted, right?
Yeah. But this is the first time like Nintendo re-releasing one of these consoles officially with the NES Classic Mini. It's a new level of, I don't know, attention being paid to it.
It's nice that an official company is actually coming out with the...
Yeah, because none of these are... I mean, I think they might be licensed by Sega, but I can't see how Sega would stand behind.
Cash grab. I agree with what Marc was saying. I didn't want to cut him off because I knew he was about to leave, but... Yeah. This... Definitely a cash grab. And then you said this was right next to the Lego games? So like Lego Batman, Lego...
Yeah, so I'm looking and it was the same thing how Target has this black sign that says retro gaming and to the left it said Lego games. And the whole section was empty at the time. I kind of want to go back and see. But now I'm zooming in on the labels that I happened to peep and that bled into the image I took. And I see top shelf, it says Lego Dimensions Adventure Time Level Pack. So they do have Lego Dimensions stuff, and the Adventure Time stuff wasn't out at the time. It might be out now, or it's coming soon. I know that's on the way. Beneath that, it says PS4 Lego Star Wars. And then beneath that, 3DS, Lego Marvel, and the Avengers. So it's a whole different variety between the Lego Dimensions stuff and the actual...
I mean, that aisle is designed for 40-year-old Donna to go through it and buy things for 10-year-old Pete. That's what that whole aisle is designed for.
Yeah.
And it's great because she doesn't know what's going on.
Yeah.
She's like, oh, retro. I remember Mario Brothers. Oh, I wonder if he'll like it.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, that's Sonic.
That's Sonic the Hedgehog.
That's a good game, we think.
Right.
No, but that was something back in the day. That's what that aisle is designed for, and it kind of concerns me seeing that stuff because I know good things are around the corner, and Nintendo's going to start it. They're going to make a shit ton of money off it because I want one.
Yeah.
And then if they're smart, they'll keep doing it themselves.
Oh, yeah.
NES, SNES. Yes. Maybe drawing the line is N64. I don't think you want to go too far past that.
No. See, that's exactly what I want them to do. Fuck it. Re-release everything. Because right now, everything is so overpriced. Like, not overpriced, but like we set the value for certain things depending on what we're willing to pay for it. If you go on eBay, and this is another part of that podcast that you should really listen to if this interests you at all, but part of that podcast they talked about is like when we search for things on eBay and when we pay a certain price for something on eBay, we're telling not only that seller that it's okay to sell it for this, but we're telling the other market who's looking on at this that, oh wow, people are willing to pay $60 for a Game Boy Pocket. I'm raising my hand, right? But like I just said, yes, $53 plus 11 shipping is what I'm willing to pay for a Game Boy Pocket in perfect condition with the box. And I've helped to dictate that now. So somebody else is going to buy one, and I've told that seller it's okay to keep selling things like in this quality and whatever. And in the same regard, like when we do that, I don't know that the Game Boy is worth like the technology inside is certainly not worth $60. You know what I mean?
At this point, but kind of buying nostalgia there. You're buying access to these games.
But this is the only way I'm doing it because there's no way for me to say, Nintendo, I will give you $60 for a brand new one in the box, or I will give you $100 for a brand. I can't do that because Nintendo doesn't make that. Same thing with NES. A lot of the games that are on this list that are coming in that NES Classic. Let's take Castlevania, for example. A box copy of Castlevania for NES, complete in box with the manual and everything. I'm thinking like everything you would get in this digital version in this, where you get a manual and what the box art looks like. You have access to all those things. All of that, the last time I checked recently, was $80 on eBay. Last time I checked physically in a retro game store, $35, $40, and it was in pretty flawless condition. So already the last time I was really serious into looking into buying these things was probably about a year or two ago. So in a matter of a year and a half, 2 years, that price has doubled in terms of what the market is saying they want for NES games. Average, I know this is just rough, whatever. Yeah. But that $80 is $20 more than we're going to pay for an NES Mini with 30 games pre-installed. In seemingly great, presentation in terms of the UI and in terms of the emulation. But I don't know, the GameCube continues to, because we hit this wave where once people who were about between 8 and 12 when a certain thing was out, after 15 years goes by and they're old enough to have disposable income, that's when all this shit flies up. So a decade ago, the NES stuff was outrageous. And then it came back down. But then SNES stuff rose. And we keep doing that. Right now we're kind of in that N64 hype. And it's probably a good time to start investing in your GameCube stuff if you want to try and resell it in a couple of years. But
you kind of saw that with Atari. Remember when, like AV jacks, like plug and play stuff? Like that was big I actually had one.
I never got, were they good or decent? I remember I kind of always wanted to get one, but I never.
I think it was one of those things, nostalgia got the best of me there. And it wasn't because the emulation wasn't great. And I had nothing to compare it to. I'd never played on the original Atari. It was just like, man, these were games back in the day.
Yeah.
like Pong. Like, oh my God, it's Pong. And then you actually sit down and play, like, that's it.
That's it. It's left and right. That's all you're doing.
So like that's what kind of got me there. But no, you saw that with Atari, and I kind of hope you see that kind of plug and play hype build back up with Nintendo. I
mean, I would just like to see. I mean, go all the way up. Like, we don't have that's the weird thing is there's no storefront for this kind of stuff. Like, Nintendo can't say tomorrow, hey, yeah, we're gonna just you can't it's impossible. Maybe not impossible, but improbable. It's not profitable probably to actually reproduce everything that's ever been made in enough quantity to put it out and sell it again. Because one, the market's not going to buy it in that kind of way.
Not the market you're trying to look for, no.
Right, and two, there's no physical shelf space for this stuff, which is why we have been kind of relegated to the corners of eBay and whatever. But I don't know. I do want to see these companies kind of take more ownership over it. I think this week, some week, Rise of the Tomb Raider is out on PS4.
It came out. think. Yeah.
I think it's Tuesday. If it wasn't this Tuesday, it's next Tuesday or it's soon. But did you see the collector's edition for that?
The $100 collector's edition.
I think so, but I just saw the piece of it where it's a PS1 jewel case, and they made a manual look like an old PS1 case, and I know, and I immediately was like, oh fuck, I need to buy that. Not because of any fucking reason other than the fact that it's repackaging my childhood, but that kind of thing right there where, like, yeah, fuck yeah, double down on that. Like, keep doing that stuff. Like, re-release. Even if it's, I don't know, like, if Nintendo and they did this in Japan, actually, with they did the Pocket Monsters, Pokemon Green and Pokemon Red back in February or late January.
Yes.
When they did the 20th anniversary versions of that. I don't know why I'm indicating towards the wall, as if I have them somewhere buried inside, like that weird Kevin Bacon movie where he found a dead girl in the wall. But I don't know.
What movie was that?
I don't know.
Oh, I believe you.
I've never seen it. I just know it exists. But if you bought Pokemon Green in this new 3DS version, you got a reproduction version of the original Game Boy box. On the inside, you got a download code for the 3DS version of it, and you got an original Game Boy cartridge that is like a refrigerator magnet. But I think it has the manuals inside. It had a full color map, like, and had all this stuff in there. And that's the way to fucking do it. Like, and they didn't do it for very much money. Like, I think it was maybe like, I don't remember the exact thing. I think it might have been like 18,000 yen, which is, or 1,800 yen, which is like $20.
Also, I love when games, when they're released on the new console, they have a way of porting over the other game. Like, I can't think of it. Like, first one that pops to mind is, I think it was one of the NHLs from like a few years ago, included NHL 96 in it. Yeah,
that's really cool.
Like, how else am I going to play that? Like, it's sitting right there. I went back and played it, and I mean,
it's not great.
It's just everyone's slipping. It's bizarre to play, but like stuff like that's cool when you include like older model. Metal Gear Solid. Which one brought the older ones?
The Legacy Collection? Or you mean like?
Yeah, the ones from not before Solid.
Oh,
was that in 4?
It wasn't in 4. It was. I think it was the Legacy Collection where they. Not the No. It was. Oh shit! Was it the Vita? I think it was the Vita version.
I think it was when they brought 2 and 3,
and they included the original MSX.
Yeah.
Metal Gear. I think that's what it was.
Yeah, I know I had it on my PlayStation at some point, but I think it was part of either 2 or 3, or you're in both or whatever.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, that was. I mean, like stuff like that is cool, and that's I want to see more than that, but I know that's is a publisher really going to put that much money just to have hey, there's this with this game?
Yeah, but I think my hope is that they do it sooner rather than later, because a company like I forget the company behind R-Type. I'm going to look it up while we talk, but R-Type, they ripped all their shit because the license is gone, and they IREM, that's what it is, and IREM. I don't know what they're doing now, if they're even still around, but
It's like Japanese on you real fast.
I know. So IREM's still around, but they've moved. They're not a what are they now?
Yeah, not too familiar with their work in the past or anything like that.
R-Type is their biggest one. But yeah, everything kind of got pulled. Like I remember a couple years ago, if you you could buy R-Type on Virtual Console, and then IREM just started pulling them all, just because they didn't renew their licenses for it. Even though it's stuff that they owned, like they didn't renew licenses for. I don't know.
Yeah.
Moving forward, because it all gets weird when you try and put it on different platforms and things like that. But yeah, I don't know.
When you're talking about like lost levels in that organization and stuff, I just came up with this great theory of how Nintendo can announce an NX.
Okay, tell me this. This is a good way to bring us back to the beginning and bring us to a close.
Some firehouse auction sale that you're saying that to go to. Buy something.
Okay.
But when you're digging through it, it's not old stuff. It's new stuff.
Oh, shit.
And then all of a sudden there's this echo chamber like, what the hell did we just find? We're talking about an NX and then a release date. And then Nintendo, surprise, or what did it call it? Oh my god, what did it call
Direct.
it? The Directs, yeah.
Yeah.
Surprise Direct like the next day. This is because, they're all pre-recorded. It's probably already recorded somewhere. And it's just ready to be released once the echo chamber comes to be. And then boom, there's your Direct, there's your NX date. And we were talking about bizarre ways of Nintendo announcing these things. What did they do on another stage? What if they just didn't do it and we found it? And then they were like, yeah, you guys found it. Congratulations. It's coming March, whatever.
I stand behind it.
Nintendo's... I've made a lot of faces when we talked about Nintendo's marketing strategy earlier in the show. And, oh, man. They're crazy enough to do it.
I'll take anything.
And it comes with a free vitality sensor.
Oh, yeah. Everybody's been waiting on that one. I'm sure that one's still coming, too.
Only for the Wii, though. Not the Wii U, the Wii.
Yeah, it's only compatible with the Wii. Well, it's been 2 hours, which means we should check in real quick before we take off.
Nothing.
Nothing.
Lost Levels bought that paper.
Yeah, nothing on NX yet.
Shocked.
But,
I will take a Square Cash payment next week.
Okay, but maybe it'll come next week. See what I did there? Marc will be proud. When Marc listens to this chunk of the podcast later, he will be very proud that I used the pun there. Yeah, I think it's going to do it. That was a good little show and tell section.
I know, I didn't see... like that picture. That picture's awesome. And then I didn't know about any of the podcast or articles you pulled.
Yeah, the stuff
good stuff.
I'll publish it all out there. Go check it out. It really makes me want to go get the Mega Man Legacy Collection. Not that I've ever been like the biggest fan of that stuff, but just because of how much care and attention they put into it.
I brushed off Castlevania for the longest time, and now I can't go back and play Symphony Night again just because I just too recent. But I'm now thinking of ways of doing the Game Club Castlevania RSR. Right?
RSR, yeah.
Might actually have to play my Wii U. God, that's scary.
Mm-hmm. $8.
Mark, during the break, Mark was telling me that it's not that bad on the gamepad. I'm like,
yeah, because it's like a big Game Boy Advance.
That's exactly what he said.
Yep.
Oh my God, you guys are wanting to sink.
I know, that's what happens. Well, this has been another episode of the Free Cheese Podcast. It has been the Free Cheese episode 167, the episode just before the NX was announced. One of these weeks that's going to be true.
It's
going to be my new closer until it happens. Yes. Let us know. Send in your thoughts about our topic of the week in show and tell. The video game preservation. What does it mean to you? What do you want? Is this Target stuff really as gross as Marc thinks it is? And as it really, it kind of is.
It is just gross.
What do you want out of it? If you're walking through Target, what do you want to see? Is it nothing like Marc? Is it something better than what we have?
If you had to keep the content the same, what do you name it? Because we had naming.
Yeah. What else would you name it? Yeah, let us know. You can also send us just general show feedback. Let us know how we're doing. Podcast@thefreecheese.com for all of that, or any questions you want to send in. We will gladly do a listener question segment when we gather some questions from listeners. You can also leave feedback on iTunes and Google Play, where you can subscribe to us on both of those platforms. We're also posting every episode to YouTube in case you're unaware. No video, but it's just audio played through YouTube, if that's your bag. And if it is, you can leave a comment there. Of course, we respond there. Go to thefreecheese.com, where every episode's posted, along with any information we shared, talked about, etc., as well as the rest of our articles. Matt put up his review of Telltale's Batman.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't know if they had it's just called Telltale's.
The thing is, Batman the Telltale series.
Batman the Telltale series. That's what it is. That wasn't live before we recorded last time. So quickly just.
I made a harsh deadline on myself.
You
last
did,
week, so
and it's up.
I came through.
Episode 1 and 2 reviewed.
3's coming out like late October. I think it's the 25th.
Yeah,
24th, something like that.
What'd you give 1 and 2 in a combo? You gave it.
Oh, I think overall I gave it 4.5.
Yeah, not bad. Yeah,
it's Telltale. If you play one before, you know what you're getting yourself into. Nothing new gameplay.
Yeah.
But Batman's an awesome character.
Yeah.
Awesome character. You can do great stuff story-wise, and that's exactly what they're doing.
And some of the stuff that you told me as like a lifelong Batman fan is stuff that I've never seen done in a Batman story before. So it's definitely new and a fresh take on the character, which I think we're at a point now with Batman where we all know the tropes and we all know the things that Batman does and how his parents got killed and why he is the way he is. And I think it's okay to break canon sometimes and do something goofy, which is not goofy in like a goofy way, but like just different, weird, separate from the canon.
Not to get into it, I don't want to keep us going, but beginning of episode 2, they did the origin, the killing of the parents. But I was like rolling my eyes, like, God damn, not again. But then something cool happened.
See? So right
now
here.
I was like, ooh.
So go read Matt's review. Read it regardless, whether you're on the fence or not. But read it. Just coffee on yourself too. Jesus Christ.
I'm just making a mess over here. Yeah, it's time to go.
It's time we're done. But yeah, it sounds like Matt likes it. Go play it.
I'm excited for episode 3.
Yeah, I think your closing line was like if you like Telltale, if you like Batman, one or the other, just do it.
Yeah.
Cool. We've also got all of our Castlevania stuff spilling out this month. Tomorrow, if you're listening on the day this is released on Friday the 14th, tomorrow, Saturday the 15th, Marc and I will be live streaming. So that's going to be, we're going to start with the NES trilogy, Castlevania 1, 2, and 3, to see how they hold up, which is obviously great. But Marc's, I don't think, ever played through some or all of them. And I've never finished 3, so we'll see if we can do that tomorrow. If we do them in rapid enough time, we have enough time left over, maybe we'll move into Super Castlevania 4, as I promised Dash last month, but no promise.
One game at a time.
Yeah, 3 games at a time, and then one more maybe, sort of. Follow us all on Twitter. The Free Cheese is at Some Free Cheese. Marc is at aug_mental. Matt is at MattyIce131. And I am at The Free Cheese. And you are at whatever you are at, listener. But we'll find out when you follow us. I think that's everything.
Yeah.
Maybe I'll have a PSVR next week. I don't know. But if I do, maybe I'll talk about it. And if not, we'll be talking about the NX anyway. So.
And you're going to have that same picture that said nothing.
No, I don't think so.
Yeah, that same picture will still be there. And I will have $5 more in my pocket.
Time will tell. Until next week, thank you, Marc. Who's gone. Thank you, Matt.
Bye, Marc.
Thank you, listener, for tuning in. We'll see you in a week.